I will try this again. See if it appears. Fine. Sorry about that, guys. Apparently, I am apt with StreamYards. Hopefully, someone is out there. Okay, so I have an unboxing, a little couple comics here. I will hold off on doing that until how shall we say if see if anyone shows up in 10 minutes or so. Uh, let's see. So what can we talk about prior to that? Well, I will talk about this. Videos. Okay. Let's do a little presentation. Tab. And we switch to there we go. It popped up right away. Good. So we were on Roman stream last night, Roman of the Empire, and we reviewed the movie Highlander, and I'm a big Highlander fan. That's one of my two favorite movies, and I love the franchise more so because of the lore and the first movie. The movies Highlander 2 sucked. Highlander 4 sucked worse. Highlander 5 sucked even worse. Like Highlander 5 was legit the worst movie of all time. Okay. The only reason they made Highlander 5 and arguably Highlander 4, but Highlander 5 for sure, because they had to pay Adrian Paul to do a Highlander movie, even though they had nothing planned. So they had kind of pieced together the source. They got some funding from like the Sci-Fi Channel and some other crappy cable people, and we got Highlander the source, and also there was some heavy influence by Adrian Paul as a creator in that. I don't want to criticize him overly. I love him playing Duncan MacLeod, but so in terms of how shall we say, uh, being a producer or whatever, no, it just no, you know. So what else can we say here? Just trying to get the other window where I could see live what's going on. So obviously Highlander back in like '86 or '80 when it came out to theaters. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on like VHS probably 7 or 8 months later. Uh, I saw Highlander 2 in the theater and Highlander 3. Highlander 3, if Highlander 3 had been Highlander 2, I think we all would have been like okay with the sequel, right? And of course, you have a Highlander TV show, Highlander comics, Highlander books, the spin-off of the Highlander TV show called Highlander the Raven, which was bad. Even Elizabeth Grayson, was that I believe her name, whose only real claim to fame besides this TV show is being Bill Clinton's mistress, as far as I know, allegedly. Even back then when she was, a knockout, her physical looks couldn't carry this. And Amanda is an appealing supporting character, but the way they went with it by de-emphasizing, the immortal rules and having her mortal boyfriend, killing immortals and so fight people who are centuries older, and it's like they emaciated Amanda because they had to man her up or whatever. With a male partner. The show was bad. There was a horrible cartoon called Highlander the Animated Series with Quentin MacLeod, which they brought back Ramirez as an animated character. Thankfully, Sean Connery never even heard of it. Then there was a Highlander, The Quest for Vengeance, which was an anime, which was really good. Technically, it's the best Highlander movie sequel, and it very high quality animation, okay storyline is the best way to think of it. And obviously books and novels, comics, and all that. So, what do we got here? What are we talking about here now? Well, the Highlander reboot movie has been uh, percolating for, I would say, close to 15 years now. I mean, it, it, it and Chris Pratt was attached at one point. I think they wanted Keanu Reeves 7 or 8 years ago, but he never even got near it. So eventually, though, Henry Cavill became attached to it. I want to say about a year and a half ago, and then the previous director dropped out, thankfully, because I think that guy was a tool as far as and the people doing it now essentially is the team that did John Wick. So that means this Highlander, and both of them love the Highlander franchise and want to do a respectful reboot. And so what, um, you know, so do we need a Highlander reboot? Technically, we don't need any reboots. However, Highlander, like as we were discussing, Roman Stream had to end abruptly, but because it ran long. But basically, Highlander is a very flawed movie. It's a movie you either love or hate because of the flaws. And like Ego couldn't enjoy it all because he couldn't accept the holes in the film, and then I was trying to explain it, but some of the friends didn't didn't want don't accept the explanation of the sequels, and which they do suck, but it's a complication. So the best thing to do when you got a flawed film like Highlander is if you do a reboot, you recognize and fix the flaws. And Stilisky has said they want to do a trilogy and address the movie just like it's going to be self-contained. They said there may be a TV show related to it, like it always is now, but it wouldn't be like have to watch. And what they could do is express the holes in the movie, in the original movie, in the context of this trilogy. In other words, they have more time. They could give maybe. I mean, the origin of the immortal should, if revealed at all, should only be involved at the very end. You know, I mean, the concept of them being survivors of an advanced civilization that was lost in the past, which was essentially the original version of Highlander 2 before they'd made them aliens. You know, it's kind of cool, especially with what I'm going to talk about probably after this. I'll do the comic unboxing after I talk about the pyramid. Uh, so the idea of, and that could very well appeal because, and I'll get into this article, the immortals descended from a lost ancient civilization, right? Um, it could be very appealing because, how do we put it? How do I put it? Um, well, let me advertise the stream. New link. Don't you just love? So let me advertise the stream. New link for. I wonder if you guys can hear. There's some craziness going on outside. I wonder if you guys can hear that. I'll have to check later on the stream. Now, where were we? So they could address the holes in the original movie with a more thorough explanation. The lost ancient civilization could well tie into some stuff that's going to be of interest, assuming we don't all die in World War III in the next 5-10 years by humanity. So that's good. Now, as far as the acting goes, Henry Cavill is an imposing dude. He's like 6'3", 6'4". Honestly, he should play the Kurgan. like they should get, if they really want to do. But then again, because if he's going to play the Connor McLeod, um, if he's going to play Connor McLeod, You know, they got to get a humongous dude to play the Kurgan. Uh, One more advertising. What else? Oh, so anyway, who could play if he's going to play Connor, right? Who could play the Kurgan? Well, I would pick Mark Calloway, who is the Undertaker from WWE. He's the height. He's 6'9" ish, 6'10". He's athletic, even though he's old and retired. He's still very athletic. He knows how to play a silent, menacing character who delivers particularly poignant lines. Um, they will probably have to rehash some of the Kurgan's dialogue. You know, now as far as Ramirez, a very interesting twist could be, you know, getting the Clancy Brown to play Ramirez. That'd be an interesting twist because he's older now. He's like 60 years old. You know, I could imagine him playing a flamboyant Spaniard slash Egyptian. You know, okay, so we've discussed Highlander, right? We have the potential comic unboxing, which would be the third thing I'll do. Now, since we talked about Highlander and Immortals and Ageless and Timelessness, we'd like to address one more topic before we do the comic unboxing, right? So that's going to be, let's see if I can find it. Articles, more videos, this. Gunung Panang. Hey, Shield Wall. If you want to drop in, man, and talk about what we're going over, just let me know. I'll send you a link. Yeah. So I just talked about Highlander Shield Wall. Going over the, you know, I'm getting ready. I'm going to do the comic unboxing right after I talk about the pyramid. Um, so uh, anyway, so the how do you put it? So Gunung Panang is in Indonesia. Now, leading into this, I will prep by saying the oldest known pyramids are, I believe, the Egyptian pyramids, right? And there's some old, and some of the New World pyramids are possibly of ancient type as well, right? But so there's always been a contention by people, some actual scientists like Dr. Robert Scorch. That's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine, Shield. Well, like I said, this is a new thing I'm doing. I'm aiming for maybe 3 or 4 o'clock on Friday afternoons for an hour, just an hour, maybe hour and a half. You know, especially as I'm getting comic books now and a couple other things. So I really want to talk about comic books and some out there hobbies like this ancient world stuff. You know, and also I might do a trailer reaction at the end of this to the Avatar trailer. You know, but it's my fandoms, and if people want to talk about that stuff, that's cool too. You know, like I said, yeah, there's no expectation of anyone being on this. This is me trying to starting a regular stream, and it, you know, anyway. So like so back in like the '90s, Dr. Robert Scorch, from he's a geologist and geophysicist from, I forgot the name of the college. He was brought in to study the erosion marks on the Sphinx, and he found to his surprise that they had to have been caused by rain, but only rain that could show up in a tropical environment. But Egypt hasn't been tropical since at least 6 or 7,000 BC. And then there was a dry period. Then before that, there was a period where they were tropical around 11 or 12,000 BC, if I remember the dating correctly. But it's 11 or 12,000 years ago, right? So that was poo-pooed by the majority mainstream. Oh, it couldn't possibly be real, but they had no counter for the evidence, like the actual scientific evidence. Because Dr. Scott is a renowned, respected geophysicist and geologist, so they could, and he wasn't saying, you know, he's had some follow-up theories onto what could have about the Younger Dryas, and which is a real event, what could have caused that, which is speculation and things like that. But the actual analysis of the erosion marks, no one's ever been able to refute his findings. People made claims to refuting his findings, but their science has held up versus his science, right? So uh, there's a set of scholars, as well as, well, set of scientists, and as well as non-scientific scholars, people who study things, who who contend that civilization is older than that ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilizations. And now we had legends of the India, like the Indians from India civilization from their religious records possibly being several thousand years older. We had no proof of that until they discovered two ancient cities. I don't remember the name of the second one, which was from maybe 7 or 8,000 BC, but I ever wanted to know the name of the first one, which is Göbekli Tepe, which is at least 11,000 years old and dates right. And we've just begun to uncover it, I will call it up on screen here. Ooh, Göbekli Tepe. Okay. I'll share this. I want to find a good. Okay, so the Smithsonian article. I will share this tab. So before I get back to Gunung Padang, so this is Göbekli Tepe, the world. So this predates Stonehenge by at least 6,000 years, right? And it upends the rise of civilization, and it dates to 11,000 years ago, and they still have barely uncovered it. It's a, I believe there hasn't been a lot of science, like a lot of money put into it, but they've barely uncovered this thing, and it's a well constructed, like I believe the term is Neolithic or megalithic ancient structure, uh, and they've had pottery, all sorts of stuff. A megalith, okay, it's 6,000 years older than Stonehenge, right? Well, and it's in Turkey. So that had already upended the concept of human civilization. Then they found the other city I mentioned from maybe 7 or 8,000 years ago, but now they found this, and this, and of course, it's unshared because I stupidly closed the tab instead of switching over to it. So let's go back over to Gunung Padang. So then they found this in Indonesia. So what is Gunung Padang, right? Gunung Padang is a pyramid that they discovered quite a ways back, right? But they previously thought it was 3,000 or 4,000 years old, but there was contention that it was older. So about 10 years ago, I believe it was like the president, the premier, or prime minister of Indonesia was personally interested in it. So he put a team of, he had the government put a team of scientists on it, and the scientists have been studying this thing. And what they found is at least 16,000 years old, possibly as old as 27,000 years old. That they think it may have been constructed over a period of time. And they've used multiple scientific methods, including radiocarbon dating, a couple other things that are in the article, which we'll talk. And before we look over the article here, this basically proves that some human civilization of at least a Stone Age to pre-Iron Age level existed prior to what we thought of were the oldest civilizations. Not only prior to we already know from Göbekli Tepe that there's something from before Egypt and Mesopotamia, right? This proves, but prior to the Younger Dryas event, which was a worldwide affecting catastrophe, that there had to have been Stone Age to maybe pre-Iron Age civilizations in existence 20,000 years ago. And if there's one, why isn't there more than one? Like if there's one in Indonesia, why isn't there one in Asia? Why isn't there one in North America? Why isn't there a Stone Age society in England or whatever? And we know there were human beings, Homo sapiens, in England. They have cave paintings and burial records and stuff like that, so we know they existed. But those are like primitive tribal types. This is civilization, a product of a civilization. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people who are crazy and saying, "Oh, there's ancient civilizations who were more advanced." No, I'm not saying any of that stuff. That's highly unlikely to be true. And to be honest, to give you a simple way of saying it, the cornerstone. Thanks, Copa. Thank you for giving me the like. So the cornerstone of our modern civilization is a product most of you don't think of. It's called concrete. And without concrete, none of our modern society could exist, right? So the oldest known concrete structures are from Roman times, but the Romans invented it, like the Roman Colosseum, which is basically, aside from the chunk that's broken off, it's still intact. There's also a full building, the Pantheon, I believe. The Parthenon is Greece. So the Pantheon is Roman, which is an old temple, which is fully intact and made of solid concrete. Roman aqueducts, which are made of concrete, still exist. So let's let's find out how long does concrete last. How long does concrete last? So I'm gonna find a scientific article here. Let's see what the cement.org says. So okay, modern concrete like we build um, doesn't last as long, especially it breaks down. But ancient concrete, the Romans built last long because they think it has to do, they had seawater in it, right? So that means if someone had advanced a civilization past the point, while most of the concrete would be on, there would still be chunks of it laying around. Okay, so that would be one of the artifacts of a civilization like ours that would have still existed. So that's why I don't think there will be artifacts that we produce that are going to last tens of thousands. That's why I don't think a truly advanced civilization existed. But I certainly think we're going to find evidence of more of these Neolithic, mega structures. Um, now we have this Göbekli Tepe, and now Ganang Punang. Um, you know, I think we'll be hitting a whole period of assuming. I mean, obviously, assuming this is true, meaning that there isn't a complete fraud, but it's been submitted to peer review papers which have accepted it. So it's not like it's not like they've basically pulled out their rear and like some other claims about this sort of stuff. So this is going to potentially open a can of worms and open a door on studying old ancient civilization. Now, why are we talking about this? Well, the origin of the movie Immortals was a lost ancient civilization. So making a series about immortals from lost ancient civilization could be something that could pop if the public interest gets piqued by Gunung Panang and other and what the implications, I guess you would say, even though I think it's a bad word. I don't think anyway. Um, Highlander could Highlander could it's funny. I just noticed so Shield Wall dropped three chats, right? I looked over in the StreamYard chat and saw all three of them, but his third chat, I think you'll pick up once word gets out you're doing this, didn't show up on the live chat until at least my viewing of it until over 5 minutes after it showed up in the StreamYard copy of the live chat. It basically showed up when Copa's comment, showed up. It's weird, like it just popped up in the middle of nowhere. It just this stuff just drives me crazy. I like YouTube's filtering and all that. Anyway, so how the Highlander series, if they're based on on immortals who are from prior civilization, could be hitting at the right time to pique interest. Okay, and also let's talk about the Gunung Panang itself. So to point to the article, and then we'll go to the comic unboxing. So here we go. So here. You might be wondering why Gunung Padang, doesn't look like pyramid you usually think of, but that's because Gunung Padang, which means Mountain of Enlightenment, is built into a volcano on the island of West Java, which is Indonesia, right? Scientists think it could be the oldest monolithic structure in the world, even older than Stonehenge in England or the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, which are roughly 5,000 years old. All right. There's a picture of the Great Pyramids. So here you go. So the results of this recent study for Gunung Padang comes after many years of researching the site between 2011 and 2015. Science at Indonesia's National Research and Innovation Agency used techniques such as drilling underground radars to try and find out more about the pyramid, right? Okay. Here's the meat of the article, right? Although, and through this intensive analysis, they come up with a rough timeline of construction. Building began sometime in the last glacial period, period of time when Earth gets colder, right? At least 16,000 years ago, and possibly as far back as 27,000 years ago. Right? The core part of the structure was probably built between 25 and 14,000 BC, but then was abandoned for several thousand years. Hey, Jacob, how you doing, buddy? Um, uh, I had opened up talking about Highlander, the remake reboot plus my of the franchise, and I'm now talking about Gunung Padang, that ancient pyramid. Um, and the tie-in I was using is the Highlander concept is about people from an ancient lost civilization. Well, this pyramid that's now 27,000 years old potentially indicates an ancient lost civilization. I was about to finish up with the article. Right. So if you want to pop on, Jacob, let me know. The core part of the structure probably built between 25 and 14,000 BCE, which is BC basically. But that was abandoned for several thousand years. Construction started again around 700 to 6100 BC, and around this time, builders seem to have buried parts of the site on purpose. The pyramid was finished around 2000 to 1100 BC, adding the stone terraces that can be seen on the surface of the volcano today. The archaeologists say further study is needed to find out who the people are who built Gunung Padang. They keep spelling it different ways every time. I believe it's Gunung, Padang, Padang, but they spelled it 3 different ways in this article. They need an editor. So that's about Gunung Padang, right? Now, okay, now we'll do the comic unboxing. Since I do have one potentially 2 viewers, let's make this so y'all could see it. Okay. I gotta avoid doxing myself, which will be the other side. As usual, because I know people don't. I know people like they slash with their knives and whatever. I want to sound like I'm lecturing people, but I've been cut when I was younger. When you cut with a knife that's sharp, you cut away from yourself, or you cut like down. The knife should never move towards you. The pointed thing should point away from you. Now, since this is good packaging, I'm just going to trace down like that. Okay. If we're on camera, I'd get a couple good passes here. There we go. This is some nice packaging this is from Things from Another World Comics, right? So this is what I revealed last week, which is really 2 orders, right? 2 weeks ago rather, and I have some that complement these. So let's see what we got in here. I'm not going to look at the receipt because I want to be surprised when I turn the books over. As usual, Things from Another World packaged them very well. You got bagged, boarded. The board, one sign of quality is the board is in the bag in the right way. Always. So when you my logic is based on something called the Gabadil test, right? So I'm an Italian American, right? So many years ago, we would order pizza. We're always looking for try a new place to see if we can get good dinners, the quality of the food, because these were all family-owned places, and some families make things different that we don't like, and some just suck, right? So we ordered from one pizza place, and my mom liked gavadils and broccoli, so she said, "Matt, get order gavadils and broccoli." Ordered gavadils, okay? Those are what Italian American call cavatelli, Cavettelli. But we obviously we pronounce C's like G's and whatever. So I ordered pizza, blah blah blah, and said, "Oh, and I want to order a gavadil of broccoli." And the young girl says, "What are gavadils?" And I'm like, my brain just locked up, right? And I said, "Oh, cavatelli." Spelled Cavat C-A-V. And she goes, "Oh, cavatelli and broccoli." I said, "No, gavadils, but we're going to cancel our order." And I hung up. So I I realize if you can't pronounce the food the way we want it, like if you're producing our culture's food, right? That I will not, we won't be ordering it. That's what I call my Gabadil test, right? But that applies to anything. Like, so if you're ordering pre-bad, pre-board comics, and that people can't be bothered to put the board in the right way in the bag, stop ordering from them. Okay. If you get yourself like, that's a sign that they don't care, which means they don't care about the quality of what happens to your book. So now let's see, what do we got? So this is a series I talked about, the horror series called Antarctica. That's number 4. Bloodborne, The Bleak Dominion. This is number 2. And Conan the Barbarian, number 4. Okay. I want to open these up. We'll do a. I mean, these are known issues in terms of quality. I talked about it last week. So the nice sticker that easily opens up. So I'm gonna pull out the board. So quiz. Now here's a test. The smooth side of the board should be facing the comic, and it was. That means they care about their product. They don't want to have the rough side of the board wrecking. Or you could pay more for the higher end boards that have double smooth sides, but honestly, it don't make a difference in the long term care. So I wouldn't bother. So here's Antarctica. Again, the spine is solidly. So that means now this is at least 3 issues of this that has good construction. So I'm not now. So now I'm trusting Top Cow as a company that when you buy books that cost, I believe this was it's Image and Top Cow Productions Image. So I'm trusting now them that they have quality production. I think this was a $3 book. So that tells me that their $3 price product is well constructed. The pages aren't, but they're $3 pages. You can tell the paper's a little thinner than the higher end stuff. And what does that mean? Well, it means it's when you read a comic book, right? You see how I'm curving in the back? You should really try to avoid it. You should try to read like this. And the reason you try to do that is it's very easy to the paper, like you see it curving. I'm not going to wreck my comic on purpose, but if I drag this too fast, instead of curving, it'll crease. Especially if the paper is very thin. So, when you're buying comic books from a company, you want to make sure that they're giving you a quality product, so you don't have to act like because the reason for that is you're paying $3 or $4 for this, or $5, right? This isn't back in the day when you had the 60-cent newspaper print comic, and that you expect to be cheap and fragile, right? But you're paying premium for this, and if you're paying premium, you should not get shit. Say it with me. If you're paying premium, you should not get shit, right? So this is Antarctica number 4. Did I get this whole series yet? Let's check. 1, 3. Okay, so I'm missing issue 2. This is because I just started buying this stuff, so I can't read it till I get number 2, obviously. And I'll look online. We'll actually go to Thing from Another World and see if it's there, right? But I really like this cover. I like the art. I like the art style. Again, who's the artist on this? Willie Roberts. He's done cover A, which I'm not sure if this cover A or not. I really enjoy this guy's work so far. The facial look. If you look at, closer on this. The facial expressions are. He does good facial expressions. You can kind of see the character's emotions. The panel divisions with the black frame. Now, the artist, they're using the black border around each panel and frame to good effect in the comic by helping you set the images. So the interior, not just the drawings themselves, but the art of laying things out and the visual representation, the coloration is all pretty good. Like, for example, you see her, which she has a collar on, a white collar on that, which really stands out with everything else being those dark matrixy looking greens in the background, the black borders, the black and orangey red dress, and then the collar with the word bubble kind of pointing right to it. The layout of where they put the word bubble calls your attention to that stark white collar, which further emphasizes the bleakness of the background, which gives you a horror insertion. So my headset probably just died. So I'm going to switch. There's no audio going on, so I'm going to switch to speakers just in case I have to hear something. Okay. I got to do something about the battery. And anyway, when you're talking about artwork in a comic book or manga, especially with comics, I tend to have more detailed background. It isn't just the drawings you should be paying attention to, in my view. The layout itself is an art form. How the panels lay out, the story flow, the placement of the word bubbles is part of the art, some artists do and some artists don't. Sometimes, you know, the style of the lettering and the penciling and all that, like the artistic expression is not just the artist who drew the pictures; it's the whole presentation, and that can lead to very, that to me enhances the enjoyment of the product. So that's a look at Antarctica number 1. Number 4. So I'm gonna put this away. Now, let's go to Bloodborne, the Bleak Dominion. So I did some more research on this series. I enjoyed the issues. I read them. This is issue number 2. I enjoyed issue number 1, which I read. This is issue number 2. I love this cover. Like all my horror images, like this is the type of image I enjoy. It's apparently based on a video game that has really spun off into a sort of its own third-party media with comics and books and stuff like that. So that's interesting. And it's a Titan, which is the same as the Conan. This is a high-quality constructed book. You can probably hear me wiggling it. The spine is rigid. This is a $4 comic book. The paper is high quality. You would have to work to accidentally crease this paper, right? And you go in and, I've showed the art off before for this. Really good stuff, And we'll take a look at the Conan. I'm not going to read it because I have to have all 4 issues, but I believe I'll go through that next. Again, Titan Comics, awesome construction. Look, Titan's advertising a retrospective on Conan the Barbarian. I'll be jumping all over that. Now, Titan offers a bunch of different covers, and I've tended to pick the ones with a lot of action or great female poses. This is a Conan in action sequence. Really good. You can hear the quality of how well put together this book is. I don't know if you could hear that like I could, but you could hear it resisting being wiggled, so to speak. Look at this splash page. I'm gonna go up here. Look how beautiful that is. This should be a painting or a poster. I would frame this. Yeah, this is Titan Comics really impresses me. Now, what's a shame is because of the Marvel and DC are such dominant and driving forces in the market, and because they're full of woke greedy shills who are more intent on turning the comic books into propaganda than actual art and enjoyable art, the comic industry has basically collapsed. And Marvel and DC drive the sales so much that comic stores, which themselves have gone woke in some places. So, in my opinion, online comics like mail order is going to be the only way to get a lot of a lot of these indies now, because comic stores are fading across the country. You know, so let's put these in order. Okay. And I very rarely go for like duplicate covers. I chose this for Bloodborne #2 because I love both covers. Okay, I very rarely would do that, but again, someday this Bloodborne, I actually want to have a wall. I want to live someplace where I can put comics on the wall, so to speak, and make them be my wall display. You know, I don't know if you could tell, but like looking at the artwork on different books, what my favorite art style is when it comes to comics. Right? So there's a couple different ones, but you know. Okay. So the only Conan I'm missing is Conan #1. That should be on its way with my next batch soon. In Antarctica, I now have Antarctica 1, 3, and 4. So once I get #2, which I got to farm around for, that should be. Then I could maybe do a little review on one of these sessions of that. So that's my comic. So this is since I've started, I found a place that can deliver. This is what I've been actively getting. So. Okay, so that's the bulk of what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to go for an hour and 15 minutes ish. So I do one or two other articles I think will be cool to discuss. Close that tab. If anyone have any questions, let me know. But I think only Jacob and maybe Copo or Shiloh are watching right now. Articles for videos. Now. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share this tab. So this dropped a few months ago, and I love the Lord of the Rings. I despise Rings of Prime, and so there have been a lot of rumors since then, right? And what I'm getting at is this: the reason I saved this one for like 2 months to talk about is this show. Well, whereas Wheel of Prime basically took the names and places of. Oh yeah, Jacob. So you know, and I know both the woke issue, right? And comic book stores are going out of business for two reasons, right? Marvel and DC drive sales, so like the bulk of your comic buyers come in to buy Marvel and DC, and they've declined in sales so much that people aren't going to comic stores anymore, right? And then a lot of comic stores themselves have gone woke and literally try to alienate customers who don't agree with them. So the places where comic stores are surviving are in places like Texas or Florida, but when you lose population centers like New York and California, and New Jersey, and Massachusetts, it's a lot of sales, right? So it's just kind of sad, but it's there may be a rebound if Marvel and DC, DC more likely than Marvel at this point, ever get past the woke storylines because they're just not selling. You know, eventually someone will. There may be a way to rebound mainstream. Question is, will Marvel and DC go so bad that they become effectively independent comics as well? But anyway, on Rings of Prime. So Wheel of Prime ignored Robert Jordan's story and just took his place names for their show, right? Whereas Rings of Prime took what they have in the appendices and compressed 2,100 years of history down into basically roughly a year. What's going to be 3 years of time with the show's elapsed. Like if it's a 5 year show, it's going to take place over the course of 3 or 4 years. They've compressed 2,100 years of history in the Second Age. So, like they've, and then they alter the storyline even further. Like, for example, excuse me, I take a little sip here. Pepsi Cola, if you're listening, I will accept a sponsorship for Diet Pepsi any day now. But anyway, they've not only compressed it down, but still have a lot of the story elements in there. They've rejiggered them and given to other people. They've done stupid stuff like Tolkien explicitly states that Sauron had nothing to do with the construction of the Elven Rings, other than that he taught the Elven Smiths of I can't remember the city right now, Celebrimbor's people basically. He taught them the ring lore, but that's the only tie he has to the Elven Rings. Whereas in this one, in this crap, they actually had him help construct the rings. And it breaks a lore element of Tolkien. It just breaks it. So now they've so badly right muck this show up with fake storylines, stuff that didn't happen in the books, that contradicts stuff that happens in the books, and all that sort of stuff. Right now they were talking about cutting Elven and new and storylines like. You know, like they try to establish their own narrative, right? Because they have a limited set of rights. Like they can't explicitly do material in say the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit or the Silmarillion unless it's in the appendices mentioned there. But and they're not allowed to contradict it, even though they are. But on the other hand, they could do things that tie into those events, right? So they make their fictional garbage, their fan fiction, whatever, up, compress everything, and then they take their own work they've done. And this is the thing, like for Rings of Prime, Will of Prime, ignore the woke, ignore the canon graping, right? There are such horribly written shows that they would have no chance of succeeding even if other elements were, even if they were 100% lore compliant and there was no woke. They'd still fail. They'd still be utter complete failures of shows, right? So on top of that, these hack writers are now going to be basically crapping over their own established season of story, right? So they're basically like you. It's just a sign that there's no chance in hell of success, and that's why I'm talking about this. I don't care about what they're talking, deleting. I'm pointing out how atrocious the writing is if they're actually doing this, which they are. Meaning, this talking about deleting storylines that they've established in the first season. So that was one there. Let's go back to over here. Okay, 350. Highlander reboot. Okay, so I think we'll take a little live look at some articles going out there. Any questions? Let me know. I know there's dead time, but I. Oh, here we go. So let's share this tab. So this is off of Bounding into Comics, which they've changed up their web page layout and design, which looks a little smarter. But I wish they'd make the Bounding into Comics label bigger. Oh, let's. Yes. Okay. So Chuck Dixon rebukes claims that the X-Men in the comics have always been woke. That'll be correct. So what's happening here in general is that the woke Marxists are trying to say what they're doing is the same as legitimate diversity and progression efforts in the past. Okay? So here, legendary comic book writer Chuck Dixon, known for his run on Batman, Punisher, Conan, Robin, Birds of Prey, and more, recently rebuked claims that the X-Men have always been woke. As part of his ongoing Ask Chuck Dixon series, Rising Star Comic, queried Dixon, what do you do when people use X-Men as an example of how comics were always woke and political? And he goes, to me, personally, I always thought that was a weak argument that had no basis in actual fact, because X-Men up until the aughts, the racism angle wasn't even the core of the X-Men as a whole. It was an action adventure superhero sign, blah, 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 right? And the kitchen sink that had an outsider theme on top of it. Plus, X-Men was often very on PC, not woke, evident when the same people who parrot the line tried to cancel Chris Claremont last year. So, let's talk about the racism angle, right? Exploring problems with racism or other forms of discrimination is not woke. That is not what woke is, but that's what they're trying to say it is, okay? Woke is a corrective measure they're trying to implement to correct uh, existing media and society with equity, okay? Talking about these issues and exploring them, science fiction and fantasy and horror have done for centuries, okay? And that's a good part of it, right? But that is not woke, right? It's funny, isn't it? Dixon continues. The thing about wokeism and political correctness and all the rest of it, the goalposts are always moving. Right? So that was a wise man talking about an issue that we all be confronted with. Now I do have. So let's see here. 353. Let's see if I can find one or two more things to possibly come back to the Bounty Hunters homepage. Okay. Cosmic Book News. Just look at the title. Tomorrow's review. Fire Kevin Feige. The acting is horrible. The directing, editing horrible. The special effects horrible. And most importantly, the story is horrible. Predictable, but you know. Let's see. Okay, let's look at this one. 4 former Superman actors reunite for the Ultimate Man of Steel crossover at Rhode Island Comic Con. Who do we got? Oh, Tyler Hoechlin, Dean Cain. Contrary to popular belief, this Dean Cain is the first is an actual non-white person who plays Superman. Contrary to what people keep pretending that only white guys ever played Superman. Brandon Ruth, and of course Tom Welling. And I love that doing this. I love that. That's a great shot for the little kid. Even though I think Welling is a douche for his the way he's treated the role itself, he's from what I understand been good to the fans. So, and for a little kid like this to get a picture with the 4 Superman, that's great. You know. Let's see if we could hit up a few more articles. Oh, by the way, if you haven't watched Superman and Lois, it's great. It's an awesome TV show. The 4th season is going to suck so bad they probably shouldn't do it, but it's great. It's just great, you know. Now, Dark Horizons is an underrated website. Has a lot of really good stuff on it, like a good presentation and stuff you sometimes get missed by other places. But there's nothing popping on me there. So, yeah. Head case Kevin Costner leaves Yellowstone final season, won't appear in the last episodes. The sole reason they're canceling Yellowstone and replacing it is to get Kevin Costner out of the executive producer money, right? I mean, I don't know why they can't, but it's a good show. I mean, I don't know. Kevin Costner, I can't stand the guy. That's what this comes down to. I think I'm about done. It's almost 4 o'clock. We're an hour. I don't want to, like I said, someday maybe we'll have a guest to talk about a few things in the future, but I want to pop around a couple other sites. Now, this is Screen Rant. Of the mainstream garbage sites, they're the least worst of. So, and they've changed their layout to be problematic to me. And Hollywood Reporter. Oh, I got okay. One thing I do want to cover. I saw this movie lately. It's called The Last Rifleman. Hopefully, I won't get dinged by the auto playing trailer. Okay. So, what is The Last Rifleman? So, it is loosely based on a true story that, um, so the 75th anniversary of D Day was a couple years ago, right? I want to say 2021 or whatever. I don't remember the exact year. And the 70th anniversary was only 5 years before that, right? So, on the 70th anniversary in the real world, a British naval enlisted man, if I remember correctly, he was like 90 years old. He escaped from his nursing home because he wanted to go to the 70th anniversary of D Day celebration because he was getting old. And that was an amazing story. And he was so, it turned into a celebration, right? He got to meet the world leaders, he got honored and all that, right? So they made this movie, which is loosely based on that, meaning it's a different character. This is the last rifleman, an Irish infantryman from Northern Ireland, I believe, and his wife dies, and he starts looking through photos, and he remembers all his friends from World War II, and he's 90, and he wants, and it's the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and he wants to go back to, you know, and it's like a, yeah, it's serious, it's like a dramedy, I guess you would say, but it's really good. It's not a great movie, but if you're of my generation or older, when we have my grandparents in World War II and their generation, this guy and the role Pierce Brosnan's a really good actor, and his character reminded me of my grandfather, my uncle Pat, my uncle Mikey, who was a Navy man, Uncle Frank, who was in the Marines in the Pacific, I think, uh, Uncle Benny, who was in the Air Force, a whole bunch of others. Like my grandfather lived until his 90s, and I mean, the whole concept of the old curmudgeonly vet, wanting to who did something, and it just reminded me. It was very nostalgic in a good way, and it's a good film, not a great film. It's a little slow, but it's worth watching, especially if you're at least of my generation or older. Younger kids might not be able to quite get it unless you have parents who are in Vietnam or whatever. Um, but it's really awesome it's a great Veterans Day film, the way I think of it. So I think that's it for me on the report here, so to speak. Um, on Friday Fandemonium. What do you guys think of the title? Um, I will try to do this every Friday from now on at 3 o'clock or 3:30, probably 3 o'clock. So I'll do maybe 3 to 4, 3 to 4:30, and then I'll be done by the time like Friday Night Tights and Friday Night Frolics, which is Doomcock show, and the other Friday night shows all come on. So thank you. If Jacob, I think you're the one out there right now. If you have any questions, let me know. I will be on Jacob's show on Tuesday. No, on Saturday, talking about Band of Brothers. Right. Next Thursday on Roman's show, talking about something, plane, trains, automobiles, maybe. Then Jacob will be doing his show on one of his Saturday shows. I think our favorite Thanksgiving movies. Um, Jacob and I just did a great show about John Ford's John Wayne movies on his channel. You should all go watch that. Also, I'm on the Questioners podcast, which is a spinoff of the White Cloaks, where we talk about all sorts of stuff. We just broke down Brandon Sanderson ripping apart the Wheel of Prime TV show final episode of season 2. That's really good discussion, which our discussion is better than the stupid show. So, and I just dropped the review of Frankenstein last week, Frankenstein the novel, which hopefully all will go read. We'll go listen, you know. Anyway, my name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73. Friday Fandom. Have a nice day. Thanks, Jacob.